Hello and welcome to another episode of the Women Can Do Show. I am your host, Rochelle Sawyer Cobb, and I have with me the amazing Jonaee Coffey,
Yes.
the owner of Coffey Biz. Welcome to the show, Jonaee.
Thank you.
I am
Thank you.
so excited to have you, and I'm excited for you to share with the people what you do about your business and how impactful your business has been to so many clients as well as myself. So, we're going to just get ready to dig in. So,
Okay.
briefly tell us, who is Jonaee outside of the business? Just who is Jonaee, your upbringing, where you grew up, education, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, first things first, let me just say thank you for just inviting me to this
You're
this
welcome.
space, this
Yeah.
show. You are an amazing woman. I've always
Oh,
admired you, and so I just wanted to say thank you.
thank you.
Um,
God bless you.
Thank you. Who am I? Okay, so I'm Jonaee Coffey, like the drink.
Yeah.
Um, spelled
And I love
Coffey.
coffee and I love Miss Jonaee, honey.
And so I would say, let's see. I currently live in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm from Inglewood, California.
Woo woo.
I love the culture in LA. I
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that I grew up here. I feel like growing up here in LA, if you could survive here,
Yep.
you could survive anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a preacher's kid.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a pastor for years, ever since I can remember. My grandfather was a pastor. And
Yeah.
so, of course, when I grew up, I too became a minister.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, I'm a mom of 4 beautiful children: Amaya, Jasmine, Joshua, and Tyler. Hey, y'all.
Yeah.
And they are currently ages 17, 16, 14, and 7.
Oh wow.
So
3
I'm real busy.
teenagers.
Yes. Y'all, when I say it's the ghetto, it's the ghetto.
Oh my gosh.
But they keep me busy. I
Yeah.
love being a mom. That's
Yeah.
one of my greatest
Mm-hmm.
achievements in
Mm-hmm.
life,
Yeah.
is knowing how to help them navigate through life,
Yeah.
and also knowing that they can come to me about a thing and I can steer them in the right way,
Mm.
and that they're not afraid to come to me about things. So
That's
that's
important.
just been, I love being a mom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's who I am. I'm a daughter. I'm a friend. Let's see. I don't know what else there is to share, but I think it'll unfold as we talk.
Yep. It sure will. Yep. So, what inspired you to launch Coffee and Biz? And of course, we know that I always ask people where did the name come from, but it's obvious where the name came from. So,
Yes, yes. It was so funny. I have a client of mine who I was doing a nonprofit for, and I'll answer the question in a moment.
yeah.
But I was going through my bank records and I saw a chargeback, and I said, "Well, why did this person charge something back?" So I called the client, and he's like, "Hey, Jonaee," I'm like, "Hey, did you mean to do a chargeback?" And he was like, "No," and he was like, "Wait," and I said, "What?" And he was like, "My dad." He said he was looking at his bank statement because, of course, this is his business too,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought that he had spent that money at a coffee shop. And I said,
Coffee and
Coffee
Biz.
and Biz.
Oh.
Okay, understood. Understood. It's a
Wow.
Coffey though, but
Yeah.
okay,
But yeah.
understood. And so that was a long, drawn out process. But it got resolved, and so we are grateful. But yeah, so Coffee and Biz. I came up with the name clearly because of my last name and because I love business.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work for a company that a lot of people know and love,
Mm-hmm.
and they did business formation services.
Yeah.
The problem with that is they would give you this business in a box, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't tell you how to structure it and then also maintain it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that was my issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been very business savvy. I come from a line of entrepreneurs. My late grandfather, Joe Coffey Sr., he had tons of businesses, car wash and service stations and all of the things.
Yeah.
And then my dad, Joe Coffey Jr., who I absolutely love, he had a hairspray, and it was his face on it, and it was Afro hairspray.
Oh wow.
Yes. So he had that, and then also he started a company called Daddy Pack when I was born,
Uh-huh.
because a lot of the moms would get celebrated when their babies would be born, but the dads didn't get celebrated. And so he started a company called
Wow,
Daddy
how
Pack.
creative is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was in all of the different hospitals, and the demand became so much for him that he ended up shutting it down
Mm-hmm.
because he couldn't scale it properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where Coffee and Biz came from. It came
Wow.
from a line of entrepreneurs. It came
Yeah.
from what's in my DNA
Yeah.
that I cannot help. And I really love educating entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I love that. That story is oh my gosh, powerful,
Thank
especially
you.
with it. What year was that? Was that like in the 60s or something when your granddad when their
So my
business?
grandfather for sure was probably running business between, I'd say, the 50s and the 60s. My dad had the hairspray, I believe, like in the 70s.
And they were in LA, right?
They were in LA.
And back then, so I come from a family of entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there, I mean, we had the auto shop,
Mm-hmm.
the beauty shop, the cafe, and this was my dad's his mother and her siblings. There was a lot
Okay.
of them, the Wimbush family. There was a lot of them. And so all throughout LA, they had these businesses, and that was rare. So they were like known because
Yes.
it was rare for blacks
Yes.
to have thriving businesses,
Yes.
So, and back then it was a good time, right? But
Mhm.
it's like when these big chains came in.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
The grocery chains, the Walmarts or whatever, it
Mhm.
kind of drove the small businesses out, but they did really well back then to, just and I think their thing was to serving because they're a family that loves,
Yes.
serving others, right? So I
Yes.
think their thing was, hey, we're going to put it in Watts, put it in the
I
community
love it.
and serve the community. Not only that, they lived in the community where their businesses were.
That's the thing. I know my grandfather. So they moved here from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
They got in a horrible car accident. Like my aunt was literally launched from the car. Everybody survived. And my dad is the oldest of his 3 siblings. He had asthma the worst. And so they moved from Illinois to California just to kind of help him with his breathing, I guess.
Mhm.
And so that was a big factor as to why they moved here.
Okay.
But when they moved here, I will tell you, my grandfather, they lived like off of like Virginia Road in LA. But they ended up moving to West LA off of like, you guys know where some people will know, like Kaiser Cadillac.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember my dad telling me that when he bought that house on Crescent Heights,
Mm-hmm.
there were nothing but Caucasian people there, and they went up on the house an extra $10,000 just to try to make it where he couldn't purchase it, and he purchased it anyway.
Wow.
So I grew up with that kind of trailblazer in the DNA.
Yeah.
And my grandfather passed when I think I was about maybe 4 to 5 months years old.
Mm-hmm.
I say years old, but 4 to 5 months. He held me. I was like the only baby he held. And I wish I could have just met him because he was such a trailblazer.
Yeah.
But I see all of that in my dad. Mm-hmm. And so I knew it was going to be in me too. Yeah. So it was legacy passed down.
That's a rich history, honey. That is a rich history. I love your motto for your business: develop, train, and sustain.
Yes.
What's the idea behind that? How did you come up with that?
So I remember those 3 words coming to my mind. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like some deep thing, but I wanted to help entrepreneurs develop their businesses. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I say develop, it's of course paperwork, like structure, but also development. So what does it look like in terms of how to build out your products and services and, all of that, like all of the things that it takes to actually build a successful business. So that was the development piece. Yeah. The training part, it's because you need to be trained in those areas if it doesn't come natural to you. Yep. So a lot of people want to start a business, but they don't know how to maintain it. They don't know about compliance. They don't know about the different departments and bookkeeping and all of those things. Yeah. And so I wanted to always provide training. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a teacher. And this was when I was real little. And so teaching has always come natural for me. Yeah. So even when I'm in consultations, I'll tell somebody like, oh, you need to do this and that. And they're like, you love this, don't you? And I'm like, oh, I do. Yeah. Because I like when it clicks for people. Yeah. And so the sustaining part is if you develop and if I train you, now you can sustain A good business, most businesses, the statistic is that most businesses shut down within the first 5 years.
First 5 years, yeah.
And so I want to help entrepreneurs to build legacy. It's not so much about a business that you can start. And of course, sometimes people need to pivot.
Yeah.
But for me, develop, train so you can sustain was the motto that stuck and resonated with me the most.
Yeah. I love that. And I am a witness that you are a teacher. Like you, even the work that you've done for me. I don't remember you did the business plan for my husband's
I do.
business,
That was
RLC
the first
Transportation.
thing.
Yeah, you did the plan for that one. And I still go back to that, like, okay, we're in this year. What were we supposed to do, right? But I just remember working with you, doing the plan for his. And then when we did it for mine, like, he and I talk about you all the time. He calls you the girl from Vegas because he can't remember your name. But anyway, we talk about you all the time and how you like gave us you didn't just do the plan and give it to us, right? You gave, even with him, you're like, oh, you can go do transportation at this level. You can go into this, you can go, like, some people won't share, we got a lot of gatekeepers. Some people will not share all of that additional information. Even with me and I Can Do, you've like shared our consultations are like, we're sitting on the phone for an hour. This is my girlfriend here. And you're like sharing, giving me a lot of insight. You're actually teaching me, right? So I value that. I've learned a lot from you, just about business as a whole, when I really just kind of had you just do one thing, but you actually helped me as a whole, so I'm a witness to that. And I love that. That is what's unique about your business.
You know what? And I took it for granted because I thought that was supposed to be the standard. So when a lot of people come to me and say, oh, you didn't, like, there are attorneys that kind of just do the paperwork for people. And then people come to me and they're like, can you tell me if this is right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, no. Because, and it's not that I'm an attorney, but it's that, I have taken the time to call the IRS, to call the Franchise Tax Board, and to call the Secretary of State and say, what are you all looking for?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of trial and error. And so because of that, I want to make sure that I can save you all time.
Yeah.
And kind of tell you what the red flags are. So when we're doing 501c3 applications for clients who are trying to start a nonprofit. There are keywords, trigger words that you should not use in that application because a lot of people don't mean that, right? So they're like, we want to teach financial literacy. Well, that's a red flag for the IRS. They don't want to see that. There's a different application for it. And so they take you as like a financial institution. And that's not what you're doing at all. You might be trying to teach people how to just save a couple of dollars, right?
Or balance a checkbook.
Or balance a checkbook. But because those are key words and trigger words, a lot of people don't know that. And so sometimes people will call me and do my little can I pick your brain? No, you cannot for free.
Yeah.
I've learned my value.
Yeah, honey, listen.
But I know that I always go above and beyond to offer that. And it's because I really want people to make informed decisions before starting a business.
Yeah.
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you do it well.
Thank you.
So that leads into my next question.
Okay.
Share with the people what services Coffey Biz offers.
Yes. So Coffey Biz is a business boutique. I like to call it a business boutique. And like we do LLCs, nonprofits, corporations, all of the paperwork that people dread having to complete. We do that for you from A to Z. The other thing is that we also do compliance. So there are a lot of people who especially like my nonprofit clients, they have to submit, annual reports to the IRS, to the Franchise Tax Board. We also help with compliance as well. And so what I love about the nature of this business is that I have clients who I've been working with for years, such as yourself. We started working in 2018.
2018.
Yes.
Yep.
And here we are 2025, but people still need those services because that's not a strength for everybody. People hate paperwork. And so they just want to do what they love. And that's what I've realized over time. So that is what Coffey Biz does. We do the paperwork from A to Z, and we also keep you compliant.
And I just want to add how you work with the nonprofits. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes people are afraid to even touch it. And I think, so I shared this with you about I Can Do. So I remember someone telling me, like, I was at an expo a couple of years ago, and they're like, "Oh, so you're a nonprofit?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "You know, you kind of what you're doing like everything you're doing is giving, right? You're a nonprofit." And I'm like, "No, it's a brand, right?"
Right.
And I'm like, they're like, "Oh, well, you know, what kind of events you having?" And so she's like, "Oh, talk to me when you're ready to start." And I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's going to be too much paperwork, blah, blah, blah. So I go to another event, same thing. Somebody approached like, "Oh, so you're," and I'm like, "Nope." So last year I was seeking sponsorship for our annual Women Empowerment Conference. And
Okay.
so people were responding like, "Oh, what's your 501c3 number? Oh, are you?" And I'm like, "Okay, here's where it is. This is it." And so again, I'm scared of the whole paperwork stuff. I'm my degree is in business administration, a concentration in accounting.
Oh my gosh.
It is not that.
Okay.
That was not, I remember like maybe that was a subject in one of the classes, but that was not the thing I wanted to.
That
It was
wasn't
that
the focus.
It was that and taxation that I stay away from.
Okay.
I will never I do taxes for 3 people, and that's me and my husband, my nephew, and my sister. That's it. Not taking any more clients because I just don't like doing. And now that I know how to do, but it's a lot, right?
Yes.
And so I'm like, I don't feel like getting all this paperwork, and I'm like, wait a minute. Let me call Jonaee and see if she does this. But, and again, you put my mind at ease, because in my mind, I had already, I guess, been defeated. I didn't even think about that just now.
Wow.
Here I am, the I can do queen, right?
You're right. And she's like, today I can't.
Today I was like, I can't, and not can't, will not. I was like, I am not doing this. Like, we're not. And so when I reach out to you, I'm like, oh, it was like a breath of fresh air. I'm like, okay, somebody else actually, that I trust, because I've worked with you for so long. I trust you. I trust that you're going to get it done. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's actually not okay. So this can be done. I can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
The nonprofit sector is large.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I always tease and say, everybody and their mama want a nonprofit.
Yeah.
But it's true. A lot of people have, charitable activities that, like, yours was a charitable activity before you even established the nonprofit.
Right.
That was the heart of it.
That's the heart of it.
It was a foundation to me.
Yeah.
And I still see women being able to come in and learn, and even their self-esteem, the very essence of I can do.
Yeah.
And we all know with the scripture Philippians, right? So
Philippians 4:13.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, I knew that it was going to shift into that.
Yeah.
But I also know that you do have a brand.
Yeah.
And there is the business side that can be for profit as well. And so a lot of people don't know that there are 2 different entities that can coexist. Not intermingle, but coexist.
And that's what I didn't know.
Yes.
That part. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just the nonprofit piece alone, I would say about 80% of my clientele is nonprofit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because people have so many different things that they love to do in terms of helping the community.
Yeah,
And it's a powerful movement when you get it started. But I always share that it's also a labor of love.
Yep.
And that you have to position yourself paperwork-wise so that you can start applying for the grants and things. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I like to do it from A to Z.
Yeah.
And I like to see that it's done properly.
Yeah. And I'm glad of that.
Yes.
So now here's another thing that I often see. Share with us how important it is to have a business plan before you start a business. Like, I've seen so many people, and it happened in 2020. I'll never forget. So many people were just like starting stuff. We're like and I'm looking like, no, don't like even like where, they would share the name, and you don't even have it trademarked. And I'm like, but because, like I said, because I had already worked with you, right, 2018. So I kind of like knew some of this stuff already from you. And I'm like, no, don't. Like, I was on Facebook and I messaged them like, hey, and I remember sending people like your website, like, are you serious about this? Okay, you need to, like, just don't take another step. But again, like, so many people don't have a business plan in
Yeah.
place and don't realize how important that is.
For
So share the
sure.
importance of that.
For sure. So let me first say that I did not have a business plan when I started my business.
Yeah.
I had a gift. And many people start with a gift. They
yeah.
start with a talent. They
Yeah.
start with a passion.
Yeah.
And they realize that they can monetize this passion,
Yeah.
this gift.
Yeah.
So it starts to, have people's brains churning. They start, coming up with ideas and just testing little things.
Yeah.
And so I remember that's what I did. That's how I started out. I have a few friends who I'm going to see this weekend. They would just send me little things to do. I was working at UCLA. I had just gone through my divorce.
Yeah.
And I saw that I had a gift. My dad used to always have me write letters for the church. I am gifted in administration. It comes naturally. And so my friends would literally just give me little projects to do, and I would do them like with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
And they would be like, "Oh my God, how'd you do that?" I
Yeah.
will never forget when Canva first came out.
Yeah.
Same thing. So anywho, I realized too in that moment that people were actually asking me to start their businesses on paper. And I said, well, I used to work at that company that would do it. So yeah, I could do it for you. And there was something that happened in that. I saw that there was a demand. I always tell people, before you incorporate on paper, first see if you actually have a business.
Yeah.
Is there a demand for what you do?
Yeah.
If you go and you want to sell buttons, where's your audience that needs buttons, right?
Yes.
You might not have a business.
Yeah.
So before doing all of the paperwork and things, a part of the business plan, which is why it's so important, and again, I did not do this first, but I went back and did it, is there are certain components within a business plan that will tell you if you actually have a business.
Yeah.
One of those is, what do you do? Have you researched the market? Who are your competitors, right? What are they doing? What's working for them? What's not working for them?
Yeah.
Do a SWOT analysis. Start looking at the barriers of entrance into that particular industry. So if you walk into you're a baker, and location is key as well.
Yeah.
So if you are a baker and you are doing business here in LA, and we know that there are 5,000 bakers here, your barrier of entry is going to be a little higher than someone who is going into a remote area that doesn't have bakers, right? And so I always start, asking those questions. Even when people call me and say, hey, I want to start this business, I can send you an invoice. That's easy. But I don't want to send you an invoice, and I don't want you to spend this money if you have not sat down first to identify these areas.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say in terms of importance is going back to market research. When I say market research, I'm not just talking about your competitors, but I'm talking about who your target audience is. Who is this person that needs your services?
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake that people say is, everybody needs this. Everybody likes cheeseburgers, but everybody's not going to like your cheeseburger. Let's just say that some people are going to say your cheeseburger is too greasy, right?
Yeah.
And this audience might say, I love a greasy cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Reminds me of my grandmama.
Yeah.
And this other audience is going to say, I'd rather not. I'm watching my weight. My cholesterol's high, right? So if you have these two people, your burger is not for everybody. But you want to target and talk to the ones who like the greasy cheeseburgers, right? They're not dieting.
Yeah.
And so that's the thought behind a business plan, is because that is what's going to make you go and start looking at the research and saying, okay, now I know how this business is going to be successful because I know how to pursue the people who are going to patronize my business.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's true. I always call it that business plan is like the Bible.
It is.
For the business, right?
Yes.
Again, I go back to it, just to, even if you want to go back and see, hey, am I doing this? Or how am I doing? Am I in year 3? Am I here yet? What am I, just to,
Because the biggest thing that I've seen most businesses do, and I want to say this is the biggest mistake, is that They don't do the research. Like, let's go back to 2020.
Okay.
When everybody and their mama
Everybody
wanted a
was,
business.
yes,
Okay.
indeed.
The government was giving out money from the
Yeah.
SBA.
Yeah.
And so when I say that was my best year,
Yeah.
that was my
Your most profitable year.
Yes. Year. Because everybody wanted that money.
Yeah.
But there were some people who missed out on the opportunities to get the federal funding because they didn't have the proper structure.
Yep.
Some people were lying on applications and it caught up with them later, right? But most of the folks who came to me had a great idea. They had a passion for it, but they didn't do the research.
Yeah.
And so what happened was they did really good in a certain season because everybody was in the house, but they didn't know how to pivot and they didn't know how to scale when it was time, when times had shifted and changed.
Yeah.
So the business model that they created in 2020 didn't work in 2022. And then that's when the businesses started to close down. That's when folks start going back to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it was a lack of planning.
Yeah.
So your business plan is that. It is a plan for your business, and it's one of the best plans that you can ever create.
And it's now that leads, I was going to ask you that, how important it is to be able to pivot, but you just answered that.
Yes. Some people want to stay in the old.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work. And now I'm getting like, okay, God. So if I want to grow, I can't stay the same person, right?
Yep.
The little girl that I was at 5 was not the same little girl I was at 10. And so even this woman that I am today, I have shifted so much and grown so much through so many of the challenges and all of the things that it would be a slap in God's face if I decided to stay there. Right?
Yeah.
Because his purpose for me is so much greater. And so even for business, and this is something I'm even still doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not afraid to pause, or a lot of people are afraid to pause.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when it's time for you to pivot in your business, it means that you have to pause.
You gotta pause.
And it doesn't mean that you have to stop and shut down.
Yep.
Because a lot of people mistake it for that.
I was going to say that people think of that pause as failure.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm quitting. No, you're taking a pause.
You're taking a pause.
Yeah,
You're growing, and you're making an informed decision. Everybody wants to call themselves a CEO.
Yeah.
But oftentimes people don't know how to think like a CEO. And so even a lot of the clients that I service, I wish I could shout them out, but I love a lot of the clients that I'm servicing even now because I'm learning from them.
Yeah.
I'm learning what a CEO truly has to deal with. They're looking at their numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers are key. When it's time for you to pivot, what's going to help you determine the pivot is what's working and what's not.
And what's not. Yeah.
What product, if I'm selling, going back to our cheeseburgers, if I'm selling chicken strips, cheeseburgers, and grilled cheese, and grilled cheese is not selling, then I probably should take it off the menu, because I guarantee that cheese and that sandwich bread that you're buying just for that product is sitting and molding because it's not being used.
Yeah.
And so now you're wasting money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's just, of course, an example, but the pivot, you can't make a good pivot, an informed pivot, if you don't look at your numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a part that if I can stress it, please, 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 since you want to be the big boss, do big boss things.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I love that you said that. I've even had to do that, like with my site. I had to go back, and I've done this a few times, and remove things that weren't selling. Like if it hasn't sold at all, take it off.
Take it off.
It's like I have 300 items on there, you know, take 30 of them off, you know, but I've had to do that periodically where I go to the site and just look at what's, you know, selling and take off those. Like I had some stuff that just was not, you know, selling, and I knew what it was, is I had too many. Like when I started, I was just like, oh, this will be nice. This will, in my eyes, right? Not thinking like, okay, well, no, this probably is not gonna catch the eye of everyone else. So who am I trying to target? Not me. I'm trying to, you know. And so you're right. I like that you said that because I had to do that.
Pricing, even,
Yeah,
right?
even the pricing. Had to change that. Yeah.
Have you looked at what your competitors are doing?
Yep.
And if you are charging slightly higher,
Yeah.
what is the value in it?
Yeah.
What sets yours apart from someone else's?
Mhm.
So there's so many factors,
Yeah.
you know, and people a lot of times just want to throw the spaghetti on the wall and see if it sticks.
Right. Yeah.
And to have a successful business, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. So with your clients, so we know each client has a different need, right? One client, you know, you may have clients that are just not in compliance.
Yes.
And so they may just need that service. You may have another client that needs the business plan, or another client that, you know, needs helping developing, you know, like you said, development, you know, and sustain. So how do you identify like each client's need? Like what's your like how do you identify the assistance they need? Like what do you have, like a process that you follow? Okay.
Yes.
Share that.
So when people go to my website, they click on a link that will take them to a 15-minute coffee chat.
Okay.
And that coffee chat tells me everything I need to know in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Sometimes 10. And my questions are very targeted.
Yeah.
Right? So I oftentimes want to know what kind of, so if they say, I usually hop on the phone and I'll say, hey, this is Jonaee from Coffey Biz. Would love to just, you know, first learn what your needs are. And so sometimes I say, I just want to start a nonprofit. And I'm like, okay.
So here, start it for me.
Right. And I'm like, great. Okay, that sounds amazing. So what type of nonprofit? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What is your activity?
Yeah.
And so they'll say, I just want to feed the homeless. Okay, great.
Okay.
So you want to feed the homeless. Tell me more about that. In what area? You know, I usually will ask, are there any nonprofits that you've partnered with in your area that also feed the homeless?
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because you may not need to go start your own. There are tons of nonprofits that feed the homeless.
Yeah.
So what is setting yours apart? How are you funding this nonprofit? What's your plan? And so I ask those questions and I just educate them and say, hey, look, there are, you know, have you researched the nonprofits in your area that are feeding the homeless? The reason I ask is because there are tons of nonprofits that do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so before you start your own, do you have a board of directors? Like I just kind of go based on a rubric of things that I know help a nonprofit sustain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always tell them the paperwork, I've got you. That's easy. I can do it with my eyes closed. But outside of the paperwork, it's a labor of love. It is going to require time. No, you're just not going to get $50,000 just right off the bat.
Right.
I know everybody's talking all that talk on Instagram. Stop believing them.
Right.
And, you know, really get your feet wet.
Yeah.
And if this is something you still want to pursue, because I don't want to deter you, but I want to educate you, then let's talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so usually I'll get a lot of referrals. Most of these past 3 years, my business has sustained from referrals.
Okay.
I have not done heavy marketing because my dad got sick with dementia.
Right. Yeah.
So I've been taking care of him. And I will tell you, people are still, hey, I got referred by so-and-so.
Yeah.
I want to start my LLC. I want to start my corporation. And so those are just some of the probing questions I ask during those 15 minutes that really help me determine what their need is.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman call me yesterday. He got referred to me and he was like, I got my nonprofit. I did this, that, and the third. And I said, well, then you don't need to call me till next year when it's time for you to do your, you know, your 990. So keep my number on speed dial.
Right. Right.
Right. And so, yeah, that's there is a process.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I love that.
Thank you.
So tell us about My Admin Works. Like, so that is that a part of Coffey Biz? That's like under the Coffey Biz is here and it's under the umbrella. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So again, I'm extremely gifted in admin.
Yeah.
It comes natural. I know God gave me the gift. I even do it for my church. I love it. But it goes beyond just your virtual assistant.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really, for myself, I don't think that term, that title embodies everything that I do. I like to say that I'm like your ride or die admin.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because I have about 3 clients right now that I have worked with for some time.
Yeah.
I'm talking like close to 10 years.
Wow.
When they didn't have a business, it was just starting. I remember my rate was $85 a month. Far from that now. Far from that now. But I remember when, again, my friends would call me and say, hey, can you put this flyer together? Or can you send this email out? And it just always came natural. Sending mass emails, I just learned. Because if you know one system, you kind of know all of them. Yeah. I am the one who will play around in there. And so for me, it was more than just being an administrator. Because what a lot of people don't know is that you'll have someone who's like a good office manager. They can write letters. They can do filing, clerk work. Right. But there is a difference from someone who is more operational mindset, who has more of an operational mindset. And so for me, I have more of an operational mindset because not only do I want to do the task, I want to systemize that task. What does it look like for us to create a process for this? Is there an SOP? Do you have a standard operating procedure that if I leave today, you can pass this to someone else and they can go ahead and execute it? Because now, and this is something that I'm doing in my own business, it's time to hire.
Oh, yeah.
But if I hire, which I've hired, now I have to be able to pass something to them to say, this is how you do a thing, right? So I'm even training my daughter. She's an amazing administrator. She get it from her mama. And I gave her a project and she did it.
Wow.
Just like that.
Wow.
But it took me to teach her. And so sometimes as a CEO, you don't have time to teach. You don't have time to do the task. So I am that person to do it. And so it's more operational planning, again, SOPs, system integration. We do all of those things.
So so mostly you're like a virtual admin, right? So what are some of the challenges with that? Like it's beneficial, right, to the client, 100%.
Yes.
But what are some of the challenges that come with that? Like we know it's in the end, it's it's more pros than cons, right? But
Absolutely.
I know there has to be some challenges with that.
I would say from the client perspective, the challenge is, and this is again going back to pivoting and all of those things.
Right.
As your business starts to scale, you have to consider, is this virtual assistant, because, okay, let's stop. You have support staff.
Right.
Most people start with support staff. They don't start with management.
Yeah.
Fine. But is this person going to grow with you? That's one that a client should think about. Usually when you have a virtual assistant, they're coming in as a contractor and they are not just your employee. They are not your employee, right? They are a contractor. And so they have your work plus other people's work that they have to do within a certain amount of time. They put it in their project management tool. They get it done by a certain deadline. Usually, and this is something that I found when I first started my admin works, was that people wanted me full time. They thought they had me full time. But they only wanted to pay $150 a month. Well, that doesn't work, right? Because anybody who is a full-time employee, you've got to pay them. You've got to pay benefits. There's things that come along with it, right? And so I think that most entrepreneurs, when it is time for them to scale up and there's a lot of business there, you've got to consider hiring a full-time person or even a part-time person that is an actual employee that is dedicated to just your work. Because if not, you'll set expectations for people and they might disappoint because they can't really deliver at that level of being like a full-time person when they're also, charging other people to do work too. So that's the challenge that I've seen is that most entrepreneurs, especially smaller businesses, solopreneurs, they hold on to good folks, and that's good. That's great.
That's a good thing,
But you've also got to consider other talent, because usually this person is only taking you so
Right.
far as you can go. And now
For
it's
a
time for you
season.
to, exactly, for a season. And I know, again, I've grown with people,
Yeah.
but in that, one of my clients made me her operations manager. She was like, I need you to be my ops manager.
Yeah.
The other clients, they were like, hey, we understand. I've had to actually, part ways.
Right,
And it
right.
wasn't that it was anything bad.
Yeah.
But I knew it was time for them to grow. And so now I don't have that big pipeline of clients from my admin works. And the reason is because I care about what I do.
Yeah.
I want to make sure there's always a personalized experience, and that when you call me, I am available.
Yeah.
And the only way for me to do that is if I don't have 5 million people in this pipeline.
Yeah.
And that I can give
Come
you
on.
the
Yeah.
tailored service that you need.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, is for me, under my admin works, I really would love to teach young people how to be admins. So I'm looking into that. I had an
that's
admin
good.
school, and there are a lot of people who don't have the soft skills. And I think that it can be taught.
Yeah.
Now, when you're working with certain high-level CEOs and, C-suite execs, they expect that you are a forward thinker.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people have a skill on paper, but they don't have the mindset to be a forward thinker.
Yeah.
And that is also what sets my admin works apart.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, everything that you're doing, again, it's business, but it's also purpose, and you're
Yes.
pouring into people. So with that being said, what would you like your ultimate impact to be on your clients? Like, what is you want to leave your clients feeling what?
Oh,
I know how I feel. I love Miss Jonaee, honey.
thank you. I love you.
I'm calling her first. Anything comes up, I'm calling. Hey, do you do? I'm calling you.
Yes.
And I'm saying that to say that you like leave that impression, that lasting impression on a client, right? So to where my first mind is when it's time to do something else, like, wait, hold on. I worked with Jonaee already. I love our working relationship. Let me check with her first, and if she does that, and if she doesn't, I know that she's going to refer me to somebody
Yes.
else.
Okay, so that's confirmation to what I was just thinking.
So
I think the biggest pillar for me in anything that I do is integrity.
Yeah.
It is integrity.
Yeah.
I want to always gain and maintain people's trust. Trust is not easily given. It's something that is earned.
Yeah.
And even when I have slipped up before and made a mistake with a client,
Yeah.
I've always been like, hey, that was my fault.
Yeah.
Let me fix it.
Yeah.
I think that we have amazing people who have amazing skills in this world.
Yeah.
But not everybody has integrity.
Yeah. You're
And
right.
so that means that you cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
I remember a client accidentally double paid me. I immediately called her like, hey, I've got too much money here. I can send it back. And she was like, you actually called me about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because God gonna be mad with me
Come
if
on.
if I don't do right by you. So I would say that is something that I really want people when they work with me to feel, is that level of trustworthiness.
Yeah.
And knowing that they have someone who has integrity, that doesn't just answer to them, but to God first.
Yeah.
And that takes their business seriously.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I can't take your business seriously, then someone else won't take my business seriously. So when it's time for me to bring a team together, I want the same kind of attitude, the very essence of what I embody. I want my team
That's
to
it.
have that, that sense of loyalty,
Yeah.
that customized experience where it's just me and you right now. You don't feel like a number.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that I learned in corporate America too, good and bad.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, even at UCLA, I will never forget one of the chancellors saying, we want to make lasting impressions.
Yeah.
So from their food halls, it was like gourmet meals. I will go eat at UCLA right now.
Yeah.
But it was the gourmet meals. It was the way that they made people feel. I always learned that.
Yeah.
And being personable is so important for me. Building relationships is so important for me. That's why my retention rate is high.
Yeah.
Because I like to build relationships and I like to build trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am, and I can attest to that. It is,
Thank
it's
you.
true.
I mean
And
it. I love it.
I am just excited that I got to get you on the show. I have been
excited.
I'm like, the next shoot we are doing Miss Jonaee. I need her in person. Can you get out here?
Yes.
So I am just I want to thank you for, first of all that you've done for my business and my husband's business. You
My
have been
pleasure.
just phenomenal with us. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for coming on to the Women Can Do show and just sharing all about yourself and Coffey and Biz. So, but before you go, I would like you to give your website,
Sure.
how people can reach you.
Okay. Let's see. Jonaee Coffey, owner of Coffey and Biz. That is spelled, let me give you the website. It is www.COF like Frank, F like Frank, EY and AND Biz, BIZ like zebra.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Coffey and Biz. Let's see. I can be reached on my business line at 323-744-8571. And you can also email me at info@coffeyandbiz.com. And I'd love to talk to you. You will actually get me on the phone.
Yep. You look, you will get her on the line. Not a recording.
Yes.
Not Lisa from AI. You're
Yes.
going to get Jonaee. Trust me.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you again, Jonaee. It
Thank
has
you.
been wonderful to chat it up with you today.
you.
And I want to thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in. And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at I Can Do Biz. Click that subscribe button. It's right there, right there. You're looking at it, click it, boop, just like that, really quick. All right, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch this episode and many more of the Women Can Do show. Thank you. God bless you and have a great evening. And scene.
All right.